Remembering the horrific scene he witnessed, he started to cry. He saw his sister drowning and tried to pull her out of the pool. Their mom, Amanda, was on a phone call when AJ told her that Adrianna was in the pool. Seeing AJ struggling to pull Adrianna out, Amanda realized what had happened. She rushed over to help and called 911.
911.
I need an ambulance.
What's wrong, ma'am?
My daughter fell in the pool and she's not breathing.
Where at, ma'am?
In Esto. Her lips are purple. What do I do?
Does she have a pulse, ma'am?
No, she's not got nothing. She is purple.
She don't. Hang on just a second.
Everything's purple.
Within a few minutes, the rescue team reached the spot and found Amanda vomiting in the grass. They immediately started working on Adrianna. After performing CPR, they managed to get a faint pulse. This all seems to be an accident, but it really isn't. Her mom didn't try to save her.
For the simple fact she never said, I tried to tear the pool down. I tried to get in the pool. To me, I'll never believe she tried to save the baby.
In a tiny Florida town called Esto, where only about 400 people live, something big and scary happened. It was February 2008. A young mom named Amanda Lewis was on trial.
You heard her screaming inside the pool.
Yes, sir.
She was accused of killing her own little girl, Adrianna, who was just 7 years old. The whole town was shocked. A mom killing her child? It seemed impossible. But there was more to the story. The person who would speak against Amanda in court was someone nobody expected. Amanda's 6-year-old son, AJ.
Were you there when she died?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell them how she died?
The courtroom held its breath.
Yes, sir.
6 ordinary people sat on the jury.
The clerk is going to ask each of you one question individually.
They listened. They watched.
This time, if you would read the verdict for the court, please.
And in the end, those few words from that small voice tipped the scales.
My mama.
Okay. And what is she doing?
Killing my sister.
The verdict came down like a hammer. Amanda Lewis, guilty.
We, the jury, find as follows as to the defendant, Amanda Elaine Lewis, as to count 1 in this case. The defendant is guilty as charged of first-degree felony murder.
She would spend the rest of her days behind bars. No chance of ever walking free again. 3 years later, Amanda Lewis still says she's innocent.
Never, ever have I ever thought about hurting either one of my children.
She claims a lie detector test proves she's telling the truth. But what about her son's testimony? Amanda has an explanation. She says someone who hated her turned her own son against her. Amanda Lewis, just 25, left Alabama and a trouble marriage behind. She moved to tiny Esto, Florida, with her 2 kids. Adrianna and Andrew, who is loved to call AJ in Esto, things seemed to look up. Amanda got a steady job at a nursing home. The little family appeared happy in their new life. Summer 2007 brought a treat. Amanda and her new boyfriend bought a small pool for the backyard.
We purchased the pool so that kids can enjoy it.
The kids were thrilled. Splashing and laughter filled sunny days. But on August 8th, everything changed. What started as a normal summer day would end in tragedy, shaking the quiet town of Esto to its core. On the afternoon of August 8th, Amanda was watching cartoons with Adrianna and AJ. She promised to take them shopping after finishing her chores. The kids begged to go swimming, but Amanda said no. She left the kids playing out front. Inside, she showered and did some laundry. Then she made a phone call to her boyfriend. It seemed so normal, so every day. She had no idea this call would change everything.
I did the laundry, took a shower, and went on a call with my boyfriend, believing the kids were playing outside.
As she talked, suddenly AJ burst into the trailer. Amanda didn't know it yet, but that moment was the beginning of a nightmare. What AJ was about to say would turn their quiet life upside down. The clock was ticking, and outside something terrible was happening.
Andrew come in to tell me where Adrianna was at. He said, Mama, Adrianna's in the pool. At first, I thought he meant maybe she was by the pool. And I said, okay, well, tell her to come in. And he went back out.
The pool ladder was locked away. But then she looked out the window. What she saw made her heart stop. There was AJ, standing on a wagon next to the pool. Where was Adrianna? In that moment, Amanda realized something was very wrong. The quiet afternoon had suddenly turned into a race against time. Amanda says she pulled Adrianna from the pool and immediately called 911. Within minutes, the rescue team arrived to find Amanda vomiting in the grass. They quickly began CPR on Adrianna, eventually managing to get a faint pulse. While strapping her to a backboard, paramedics noticed a bump on her forehead. Although Bay City Medical, the nearest hospital, was 60 miles away in Panama City, Adrianna needed immediate treatment. She was airlifted out within 30 minutes. As the helicopter took off, they had restored a slight heartbeat and pulse, and she was stable for the moment.
As the chopper was taking off, they had gotten a slight heartbeat and pulse back. And they had her stable at the moment.
The doctors worked desperately. For a full hour, they fought to save Adrianna. Every minute felt like forever. But at 5:04 p.m., the fight was over. Adrianna was gone.
It's almost like I've lost a part of me. It's supposed to be that you go before your children, not the other way around.
Questions would start, as someone was pointing the finger at Amanda.
And then when she had to take a shower,
It was AJ, Amanda's young son.
to get in the car to go get Adrianna.
Her own child was accusing her of murder.
Adrianna was trying to escape from Mama, and then Mama pulled her back in the car. And then once they got back home, Mama threw her back in the pool. And then she started drowning again.
AJ's words hit like a bomb. He told police his own mother had killed Adrianna.
Adrianna started drowning?
But how did this happen? Why would AJ say such a thing? And there was another mystery. How did AJ even get to the police station? The story twisted back in time. Police had called Amanda's mother, Brenda, from the scene. Brenda raced from work to Amanda's house. She arrived just as the helicopter took off with Adrianna.
I got the call at work and left work and went down there. It was just a nightmare from then on.
In the chaos, Brenda locked her keys in the car. While she waited for the police to unlock it, Chuck, her husband, took AJ to their home in Alabama. When Brenda finally got home about an hour later, she says Chuck had disturbing news.
And when I got home, Chuck meets me at the door and tells me that the sheriff wants to talk to AJ because AJ had seen what had happened.
Chuck said that AJ told him it was Amanda who drowned Adrianna. In walked AJ and his grandparents. Detective Michael Rayleigh was there, waiting. Detective Rayleigh had seen it all before. He'd been at Amanda's house, right where it happened. AJ was there too, at the scene. But back then, the boy said nothing strange. Not a word about how Adrianna died.
Sheriff Lee called me on the phone to tell me that the grandparents had contacted him to tell him that AJ had made some statements that we needed to hear.
So she got up out of her bed and came in the living room? Did she go?
She done it at 9.
The interview started. Suddenly, Brenda couldn't take it. She left the room. Now it was just AJ and the detective. At first, AJ's words were jumbled, hard to follow. The detective leaned in, trying to make sense of it all. Then, AJ started talking about the pool.
Mama, don't my sister.
What does that mean?
His words became clearer, sharper. The story he told made everyone freeze. There was no mistaking what the boy was saying now.
Just moving my wagon, and then when she got done moving my wagon, she told Adrian to scoop out the bug out the pool. And then maybe she did it, so Mama, don't do it.
Because she didn't scoop out the bugs?
That's all.
What AJ said next shocked them all. There was no confusion anymore. No misunderstanding what the boy meant. It was hard to believe, but impossible to ignore.
Who was in the pool?
Adrian.
Did your mama get in the pool?
No. Adrian was just in the pool with Mama. But Adrian was laying like this and Mama holding him like this so she wouldn't scream.
I think his exact words were that his mother had dunked his sister, and at one point he placed his hand over his face in that manner and said that she had drowned her.
In seconds, everything changed. What they thought was an accident now looked like something much darker. The case flipped on its head. A drowning or murder? Detective Rayleigh stood up slowly. He needed to talk to Brenda. He left AJ in the room. The boy's words echoed in his mind. Out in the hallway, Rayleigh took a deep breath. How would Brenda react to her grandson's story?
At the time, she was very upset, and she believed that Amanda had drowned Adrianna.
Rayleigh knew he needed more. The hospital was his next stop. He had to talk to the ER staff, the ones who fought to save Adrianna. At the hospital, a doctor pulled him aside. The doctor's words made Rayleigh pause.
What you had done and that her daughter had died?
I tried to inform them as gently as possible that there was nothing else left to do. We had done everything in our best efforts, and I was afraid that her daughter had died.
Something about Amanda's reaction wasn't right. It didn't fit. It seemed off.
Dr. Fox said that when she went out to tell her that she just really didn't have a response, just seemed kind of cold about it.
Dr. Fox had more to tell.
Did you tell her what you had done and that her daughter had died?
I tried to inform them as gently as possible that there was nothing else left to do. We had done everything in our best efforts, and I was afraid that her daughter had died.
It wasn't just Amanda's behavior that seemed wrong.
She didn't really have much of a reaction, and it just was very flat.
She talked about Adrianna's body, bruises. They were everywhere. But the worst ones, they were on her face.
Bruising, it was actually red marks when she first came on her forehead, and there was some reddish to light purple marks on her right shoulder.
The bruises' locations raised alarm bells. Could it be just a coincidence? Maybe, but maybe not. Police started to think, what if AJ was telling the truth? A chilling image formed. Amanda, pushing Adrianna's head underwater, holding her there. The pieces were fitting together, but in a terrifying way. Now, they had to talk to Amanda. They needed answers. How would she explain those bruises?
And she denied ever doing anything for her child. We asked her about the bruises, if she saw the bruises, and Amanda said, yeah, she had saw them, but she didn't know how they'd gotten there.
Someone wasn't telling the truth. But who? Rayleigh decided to dig deeper. He called in Child Protective Services. They needed to talk to AJ again, more carefully this time. 4 long hours had passed. AJ hadn't seen his mom since the pool. As AJ talked, his story kept changing. First, he said his mother dunked Adrianna.
When Mama dunked Adrianna until she dies.
Then he said Adrianna fell in and Mom pulled her out.
Mama pulled her out, and then when she laid on the grass, she opened her mouth like dirty water was coming out of her mouth.
By the end, AJ had told 13 different stories, 13 ways his sister might have drowned. The case was getting muddy. Who could they believe? Two days later, the autopsy results came in. The bruises looked worse now, much worse. Signs of a struggle were clear. There was a hard hit to the back of Adrianna's head. The medical examiner's verdict, homicide. But there was more. Another injury caught their eye.
There was a small tear on her vagina. The ME did a sexual assault kit. We submitted it.
This suggested a very disturbing scenario. Had Adrianna been raped before being murdered?
We did a search warrant on the house and processed the room and the boyfriend's son's room, and we could not find any signs of sexual assault in either one of those.
In another room, they found something disturbing. The smell hit them first. Strong, sickening. It was urine. The stench was overwhelming. Adrianna and AJ's room was a shock. No bedding. Just bare, soiled mattresses. Amanda had an explanation. Both kids wet the bed.
It had a very strong, the whole house smelled of urine and feces.
You go into the Adrianna and AJ's room, as soon as you walked in the door, just the stench of urine just would knock you down. There's no bedding on there. Amanda attributed that. They were both bedwetters.
Had a stench of urine. You could hardly stay in that room. I mean, you had to get a breath and go in there and then come right back out.
The investigators paused. They knew the truth. There's a big gap between frustration and murder.
Adrianna, she had behavioral issues. Bless her heart. You know, she had ADD, she had stuff going on. I can imagine it could be trying, having a child that age, going through that. There was a difference between how she treated AJ and how she treated Adrianna.
But something wasn't right. They started asking around, talking to people who knew Amanda. What they heard painted a troubling picture. There were reasons. Reasons Amanda might have snapped.
Adrianna had taken a Sharpie and had written the word BITCH on the hood of Amanda's car. Amanda came to work and was so mad about it that a coworker had to pull her to the side and told her to calm down because all she could do was talk about, I'm gonna kill her, I'm gonna kill her, I'm gonna kill her. And would not let it go.
Detective Rayleigh had seen enough. The autopsy results, the shocking room. It all added up in his mind. He was sure now. Amanda had killed Adrianna. Rayleigh made a decision. It was time to confront Amanda. He urged her to come clean, to confess.
Basically told Amanda at one time, listen, I know you're working at night, Adrianna's a handful, maybe something happened, maybe you snapped.
Amanda didn't crack under pressure. Her story stayed the same. No change. Not a single detail.
Mm-hmm.
Did you kill Adrianna?
No, I did not.
I'm innocent, she said. Again and again.
Did you dunk her in that pool until she drowned?
No.
Amanda offered to take a lie detector test, a polygraph, the ultimate challenge.
That morning, when the investigator offered me to take a polygraph, and he assured me that if I passed that polygraph, they would leave me alone. I told them, I'll do it.
Police also uncovered several witnesses who cast doubt on Amanda's abilities as a parent, deepening the mystery and raising unsettling questions.
Now, what is this right here? Who is this, or what is this?
My mama.
Okay. And what is she doing?
Killing my sister.
Even though Amanda had passed a polygraph test, the prosecutor remained unconvinced, adding a layer of tension and suspicion to the case.
I've known other guilty people that have passed polygraph exams, so I didn't put much stock or much weight in the fact that she passed the polygraph.
regardless of the polygraph test, we heard from the grandparents, we heard from many of her coworkers that she and Adrianna did not have a good relationship. They fought a lot. And in fact, Amanda favored her other child. It's not hard for people to think she might have just done it.
On September 5th, 2007, Amanda Lewis was arrested for the murder of her daughter, Adrianna. The news sent shockwaves through the small community of Esto, Florida. Neighbors were stunned, unable to believe that Amanda, their quiet and seemingly devoted mother, could be capable of such a crime. As the state began constructing a case against Amanda, she found herself thrust into a fight for her innocence. With the weight of the accusations bearing down on her, Amanda had to defend herself against the mounting evidence. Her fate now rested in the hands of public defender Walter Smith.
From the inception of this case, I was persuaded that Adrianna's death was due to an accidental drowning. She came across as very matter-of-fact, very detached, which was a little unusual. But as soon as the interview was over, and she was being escorted back to her cell, she was sobbing. And that told me that this is a person who does not show emotion to other people, shows it privately. I came away with the distinct impression that this person is innocent.
Public opinion was swiftly turning against Amanda, as unsettling stories from her past in Alabama began to surface. Among them, one stood out as particularly damning. Amanda had previously lost another child under suspicious circumstances. His name was Alexander.
When he was born, we had no clue that anything was wrong. In the beginning, you would thought he was a healthy child.
One day, Amanda recalls putting Alexander down for a nap before stepping into the shower. But when she emerged, she found the baby unresponsive, his tiny chest still. She taught her son, Alexander's death, somehow used against her. Nine years before, Alexander's death was ruled the result of hypoxia, stemming from seizures, with no criminal investigation or charges filed. However, on local news sites, people were quick to take sides. Some even called for the police to exhume the baby's body, believing it could prove Amanda had killed 2 children. Even before her trial began, Amanda had already been convicted in the court of public opinion. Public Defender Smith faced the daunting task of finding holes in the state's case against her. He began by challenging the autopsy report, which was crucial to the prosecution's argument. However, it was revealed that Dr. Charles Siebert, the county coroner, was under investigation for a string of botched autopsies.
The body of a Florida teen who collapsed at boot camp has been exhumed for a second examination into the cause of his death.
This is 2 months after he died. And he did have that first autopsy, but the results of that were so controversial that the state actually asked that a new autopsy be completed.
Casting doubt on the reliability of his findings in Adrianna's case,
Our medical examiner opined that her face was held on the bottom of the pool, causing the injury to the back of the head. And then when he was informed this is not a concrete pool, this is just a rubber inflatable pool, he really didn't have any explanation for that injury.
If the bottom of the pool couldn't have caused the injuries, Smith doubted that the facial bruises could have been inflicted there either. Now, with Dr. Siebert admitting that they likely couldn't have occurred in an inflatable pool, doubt crept into the prosecution's narrative, leaving Amanda's fate hanging in the balance.
I just believe he fabricated a series of events into one day.
Smith was confident he had grounds for reasonable doubt. But just as Amanda Lewis's trial was commencing, Dr. Siebert mysteriously left the state. With the key witness absent, uncertainty loomed over the courtroom. Then, a little boy emerged, holding his mother's fate in his small hands.
Hey, James. Hey, Jay.
Yes, sir.
Give me your hand. All right. Here.
Amanda might have grown frustrated with her daughter that day, seeking a way to punish her for perceived wrongdoing.
I think she got up that day. She was tired. She was frustrated at Adrianna's misbehavior that day. So she took her out there to the pool and she dunked her to discipline her. And it just went too far.
The prosecution started by presenting witnesses who questioned Amanda's love for Adrianna. They painted Amanda as a bad mother, alleging that Adrianna was a constant source of frustration for her.
She came in and she was very upset, very irate, and we said, "What's wrong, Amanda?" She said, "I'm just going to kill him, I'm going to kill her." And I was like, "Don't say that."
The bruises on Adrianna's body were presented as evidence suggesting she had been intentionally drowned.
The jury had an opportunity to see the portion of the video where AJ had demonstrated that to the law enforcement officers. In addition to that, they heard the testimony of Lisa Ruckman.
If you would, ma'am, just use your left hand as you would on your face, demonstrating to the jury how that would have been. Okay.
After the state presented all its evidence, the most compelling testimony came from the sole eyewitness, AJ.
What did your mama do?
I can't remember.
Now, age 7, AJ hadn't seen his mother in 6 months. On the stand, he claimed he couldn't remember most of the story he had told the police. To jog his memory, the DA used a drawing AJ had made to help him recall the details.
What is this right here?
My mother's arm.
Your mother's arm?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What does this mean right here? She did. What?
She died.
She died. Okay. You mean your sister died? Okay. What this too bad? What does that mean?
That means it's scary.
It was scary.
Smith's job was clear but tough. He had to make the jury see. AJ's story wasn't solid. It could change. It had changed, depending on who was asking, depending on where AJ was. A young boy, confused and scared, saying different things to different people.
Did she get drowned in the pool before she went to the park?
Yes, sir.
So she got drowned twice, didn't she? She got drowned before she went to the park, and she got drowned when she came back from the park, right?
Yes, sir.
How many times did she get drowned?
Twice.
Smith was ready for battle. One by one, he took on the prosecution's claims, countering each argument they made. Suddenly, Smith revealed something big, a major problem in the state's story.
One piece of evidence that was never explained was the red wagon that was situated next to the pool that was full of water and had children's footprints in it. How did that get there?
Smith had a simple plan. He didn't need to prove Amanda innocent. Just one tiny seed of doubt would do. That's all he needed to plant. One small maybe in the jurors' minds.
When I asked him, what were you doing when your sister was screaming, his response was, holding on to her legs. This is what he testified to in court.
Smith focused on this single goal.
That reason and logic indicated that this was a case of accidental drowning. I may not like Amanda Lewis. I may think she's a bad mother, but the evidence persuades me that this is an accidental death.
After just 3 days of testimony, the case went to the jury. Still, for Locke, the most compelling evidence of Amanda's guilt was that she never seemed to panic.
The simple fact she never said, I tried to tear the pool down. I tried to get in the pool. To me, anybody's child that drowns in the pool and you stand on the side and you don't tear that pool down and you don't get in there with that baby, there's something wrong with you. I'll never believe she tried to save the baby.
On February 22, 2008, the jury in the Amanda Lewis trial reached a verdict after deliberating for less than 2 hours. They found her guilty of killing her daughter. Amanda was sentenced to life without parole, sealing her fate and leaving the community in shock.
To the defendant, Amanda Elaine Lewis, as to count 1 in this case. The defendant is guilty as charged of first-degree felony murder.
For Billy Hutto, it was a heartbreaking end to a terrible ordeal. He has never spoken publicly about his daughter's case.
If she'd have been a big church goer, been some lawyer's wife, she'd have never served a day. They had that young and guilty from the time they started. You could look right there and see it in their eyes. Everybody was saying it.
But why? If the state's case was so flimsy, how could the jury deliver a guilty verdict?
I've noticed that jurors are more inclined to be deciders as opposed to deliberators. They don't really want to wrestle with all the nuance of the case and really come to grips with the evidence, particularly in a case like this.
Amanda insists that AJ was confused from the beginning.
He couldn't remember who all was there, what we did that day, but he was a key witness in a trial that put me in prison for the rest of my life.
Chuck, her mother's ex-husband. He'd been alone with AJ that day. While Adrianna fought for life in the hospital, AJ was with Chuck. Just the two of them. Amanda's thoughts turned over and over. What happened in those crucial hours? Did Chuck plant ideas in AJ's young mind?
He was always a very manipulative, vindictive type of person.
Brenda Turner says Chuck always had something against Amanda.
Oh, he hated her. He didn't try to hide it. He didn't agree with the way she done things with her children.
The truth behind what really transpired between Chuck and AJ will likely remain shrouded in mystery. Amanda's anger towards her mother brewed quietly inside her. She felt betrayed, knowing her mother could have stopped the police from investigating, but she didn't.
Yes, I should have stopped. But, you know, by the time I get home, he's already called the sheriff and told the sheriff, God knows what. You know, how am I going to stop it? The ball had already been put into motion.
Despite Brenda's feelings of guilt, Amanda refused to accept her mother's remorse.
Why did she allow this to happen? Because she could have stopped it. But to me, there's never going to be a reason enough to satisfy me.
This family will never be the same again. The only witness who truly knows what happened that day is AJ. Did he really witness his mother killing his sister? Or did he fabricate a story to cope with the trauma of Adrianna's death? Perhaps one day in the future, the truth will surface. But for now, the mystery remains veiled in shadows, leaving us to wonder and speculate.